Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this post, I want to talk about God, the word that we used to describe the entity, the creator. I want to talk about all these numbers on the screen 61, 156, and 26. I want to show you how these numbers connect to God, Jesus, Christianity, spirituality, and more. I also want you to be able to answer this question. Why do some Jews write G-D instead of God? We're going to talk about all this in detail. Just to give you a little real world knowledge, let me show you how this came up yesterday. I live in Seattle, or in a suburb of Seattle. Seattle's on the 47th parallel, a very important number in this study. The word Christian equals 47 in Pythagorean gematria. I want you to notice that G is the seventh letter, D is the fourth. These numbers 7 and 4 are in the 47th parallel. Yesterday in Bellevue, Washington, just across the lake from Seattle, the town that Microsoft built, there was a shooting on 156th Street, and yesterday was June 5th, the 156th day of the year. A year ago to the day, June 5th, 2014, there was a shooting in Miller Hall at SPU, Seattle Pacific University. So on the 156th day, we got these shootings on the 47th parallel. And if you're new to my work, what I have been asserting is that the Freemasons are behind the coding of these events. And all of these tributes might very well be tributes to God. As I point out in all of the shootings, Truth Seeker, the number 33 is present. Last year it was in Miller Hall. Miller has a gematria of 33, so does the word hall. Notice that 33 sums to 156, this number corresponding with God. The word hall also has a simple English gematria of 33. Miller sums to Pythagorean, which this website doesn't do, so I don't type it up there. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go through these numbers one by one. God in English gematria sums to 156. Let's start there. So, think about this nation's birthday in the United States where we speak English, July 4th. This date has a gematria of 156. And think about it more carefully. The 7th month, the 4th day. Why do some Jews write God G-D? G the 7th letter, D the 4th. So Truth Seeker, our nation's birthday is truly a tribute to God. Think about the original presidents and how a few of them died on July 4th, 2 of them on the same day, supposedly. Starting to make a little bit more sense, right? Sacrifices to God, just as it was once done in other parts of the world, we're taught. So we talked about July 4th, 33 connecting to 156. If you're new to my work, Truth Seeker, of the 50 states, only 3 have names that sum to 33. The first and last, Delaware and Hawaii, and the 6th, Massachusetts. And again, we see how this number 33 connects to God. From our own history, the film Truman Show was released 17 years ago, June 5th, the 156th day. And if you haven't seen this movie, it's about man playing God over one man's life who has no idea. And his character name is Truman Burbank. Remember, this movie came out on the 156th day of the year, Truth Seeker. The name Truman Burbank sums to 156. 156 Truman Burbank. In the beginning of the film, I don't want to give too much away. If you haven't seen this movie, you should watch it because it's a real eye-opener. But in the beginning of the film, he gets a clue that something is wrong in his world. And that is because a stage light falls from the sky and crashes in front of his house. And on the stage light, the word Sirius is written. Of course, in our world, as we're taught about it, Sirius is one of the brightest stars in the sky. We also, at this day and age, have a satellite XM radio station called Sirius XM Radio. I bring this up because the phrase Son of God sums to 95. And in this movie, he is looked at as the Son of God by a group of people who view themselves as gods. Now, Truth Seeker, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine the people who are running this world, hoaxing us, misleading us constantly, I imagine they think of themselves as gods because of the great impact they're having over humanity. Since I was a young boy, I have imagined that the religions we've been taught are manipulations, lies, just meant to make us divide and fight, because I've seen it since I was a child. My mom didn't want me to play with the Mormon kids. When she grew up in a small town in North Dakota, and she was raised a Lutheran. She wasn't allowed to play with the Catholic kids. So I clued into this as a kid, just seeing already how, you can't play with certain kids because they have these beliefs. Truth Seeker, to me, God created all of us. We are his children. He gave us the ability to connect with him. I've always felt that the presence of God is all around me. God is always trying to send me signs of what the right thing is to do. I think God is there for all of us, just we so often choose to ignore. And, so many people have said to me, well, Zach, you don't know anything about God because you don't believe in Jesus. And every time somebody says that to me, it just kills me because, I don't think God gave us books or a name or a story of his son. I think all of that came from men who were interested in ruling and dividing and conquering. Jesus himself in his ministry was highly opposed to religion and essentially taught the golden rule. So, Truth Seeker, we covered the number 156. Let's go to Jesus and the number 61 here. If you're not aware, Jesus began his ministry at the Sea of Galilee. Sea of Galilee has a Pythagorean gematria of 61 with the S exception. The word minister and religion have a connection to the number 53. This is where Jesus began his ministry, the Sea of Galilee. What I want you to notice also further is that Galilee, the word, has a Pythagorean gematria of 33. And notice that the Sea of Galilee has a 33-mile circumference, Truth Seeker, or a 53-kilometer circumference. And again, the word religion equals 53. The word minister equals 53. This is where Jesus began his ministry, the Sea of Galilee. Also from the Bible, Truth Seeker, Jesus has the miracle catch of 153 fish in the Sea of Galilee. And that is a number of great significance which directly connects to God too. With regards to 61 and God, here's another big one. The word church with simple English gematria sums to 61. The phrase take me to church with Pythagorean gematria sums to 61. And notice that we got this song September 2013 from Hozier, a song that's still played a lot on the radio. Maybe since its release, this has been the most played radio song. It might very well be. Notice that the song is 4 minutes and 2 seconds in length. That's a lot like the number 42. The original Bible published was the 42-line Bible, also known as the Gutenberg Bible. Gutenberg Bible in Pythagorean gematria sums to 66. The book was 66 chapters, 39 Old Testament, 27 New Testament. It's been numbers all this time, Truth Seeker. In the King James Version of the Bible, there are 61 books. In the King James Version of the Bible, there are 61 verses in the 61st book. It is the only book with this type of symmetry. I want to show you something about the name King James and religion too, Truth Seeker. Religion sums to 89. King sums to 41. James 48. Put it together. King James equals 89. And if you do King James Bible, it sums to 119, like Star of David, a number of great importance to the Zionist Jews, the false Jews, as mentioned in Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. These occult elitists who practice coding these numbers, they're very into prime numbers. The word prime itself has a gematria of 61. And the 18th prime number is number 61. Think about 18 to we humans. In modern society, we say that is the age of maturity, the age of adulthood. If you're new to my work, I also talk about sports a lot and how it syncs up with this occult numerology. It's totally happening right now in the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup. Notice that in the year 61, Roger Maris set the home run record with 61 home runs, beating Babe Ruth's long-standing record. 61 home runs in the year 61. World War II, there were 61 countries that participated. Definitely not a coincidence. These people who are responsible for these wars that we've been having are literally plotting them by the numbers, which I have demonstrated in many posts. The wars we are experiencing are scripted, planned in advance. Think about September 11th to the beginning of the Iraq War. That war started exactly 555 days after September 11th on March 20th, 2003. It was started by a War Department called the Pentagon, a 5-sided figure of 5 floors with a 5-acre court in the middle that sits across from the Washington Monument that is 555 feet and 5 inches above ground, 111 below for a total of 666 feet. All right, so Truth Seeker. Got a little tangential there. We were talking about the Sea of Galilee, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 61. In the Bible, the miracle catch of 153 fish takes place in the Sea of Galilee. Now check this out, Truth Seeker. We've talked about 61. We've talked about 156 and its connections to July 4th, the number 33. Next, we're going to talk about 26, but I want to make one more point about 33, Truth Seeker. This number is coded all throughout the Bible. Of course, Jesus is crucified at 33. The first book, Genesis, has a gematria of 33. The book that explains the beginning, the creation. In science, Big Bang is the equivalent of Genesis. Big Bang also sums to 33. But look at this, Truth Seeker. We people are reflections of God. All of these words have gematria of 33. People, person, can't type. Society, order, destiny, believe. All of these words sum to 33. And we people have 33 vertebrae in our back. The word goyim, which means non-Jew, also sums to 33. Goyim, if you're not familiar with that word. This stuff is no coincidence, Truth Seeker. No coincidence. All right, so now we need to discuss 26. 26. Are you familiar with this shape right here, Truth Seeker? The Vesica Piscis, the Mandorla, the Ichthys, the Pisces. Notice that Ichthys and Pisces sums to 26, like the God number. When we see this symbol on the backs of cars, it often has the acronym inside of it, IXOYE, or sometimes people will have Darwin inside there with some feet on the fish, or sometimes they even have a joke in chips, but really the joke's on us. Notice that the gematria of all these things is 33. With regards to Darwin, he also died on a date with 33 numerology. Science and religion are both equally as full of 33. Einstein came to the country in the year 33, born on a day with 33 numerology, died on a day with 33 numerology. Him, Darwin, and a whole bunch more. The word Mandorla also has a gematria of 33, which this symbol is often referred to as. Okay, so we're talking about 26, though. It's easy to get back on that 33. It's so ever-present. With regards to God summing to 26, remember in gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, the God number is 26, and that is much older than English. That is thousands of years old. English is only hundreds of years old. So God equaling 26 predates English by a lot. But notice this. If you sum the numbers 1 through 26, it sums to 351. In Pythagorean gematria, God sums to 17, G is 7, O instead of being 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, D is 4. So God sums to 17 this way. If you sum the numbers 1 through 17, it sums to 153. Notice how 153 and 351 are perfect reflections of each other. And again, in the story of the miracle catch from the Sea of Galilee, Jesus catches 153 fish. This number connected to God. The word mason has a Pythagorean gematria of 17, and the Masons see themselves as reflections of God, possibly even as gods. Mason with the S exception sums to 26, and Mason with simple English gematria sums to 62, a reflection of God. Think about how the Masons use the square and compass with the letter G on it, that big G. G, the seventh letter, representing complete. So we've covered these numbers now, Truth Seeker. We've covered 61, its correspondence with Sea of Galilee, church, and more. Its relevance in the King James Version of the Bible. The 61st book is of 61 verses, the only book with such symmetry. We talked about 156, how it shows up in the date July 4th, how it's significant to the number 33, how it shows up in movies. I even talked about how it showed up in a police shooting locally here yesterday. And then God in simple English gematria, summing to 26, and how that connects back to this sacred mathematics, the symbol of the ichthys and the Pisces, and the miracle catch from the Sea of Galilee. Also, True Seeker, it should be noted that the Greeks called this symbol the matrix of life, saying that it represented all of creation. Just like God, God represents all of creation. So these symbols, they're not arbitrary. They're based in sacred mathematics, sacred geometry. And that is why we speak the language we speak today, because it is also based in these same things. It's just that somebody forgot to tell us. So now let's go back to that question. Why do some Jews write G-D instead of God? 7-4. 7-4. Check this out, Truth Seeker. Gospel in simple English gematria sums to 74. Gospel, the teaching or revelation of Christ, the first 4 books of Matthew, or of the New Testament, All of these words sum to 74, Truth Seeker. Jesus, cross, Yeshua, the Greek spelling of Jesus, Joshua, the English translation of Jesus, Muhammad, the figure from the Quran. Muhammad is mentioned in book 47, Truth Seeker. The word Christian equals 47. And think about this moment in history, the division between Christianity and Islam that is trying to be waged by a certain force, a force that is most easily felt through our mainstream media. Why? Why divide us? Why make us fight with each other? Truth Seeker, the answer to that is the Masons. The Masons believe in dividing through conquering. And what it seems to me is that over many years, they have been active, they have been present, and they have been building this world and manipulating the people within it just the way they want to. Just as we all now experience who are awake. We see that our news is lying to us on the daily. We see that the school curriculum we were taught for many years is a lie. You know? For so many of you, it's easy to see all of the lies clearly, except for when it comes to your spirituality. For those of you who are convinced Jesus is the Son of God who came to earth, I really beg you to question that story. These numbers are so heavily coded, so important to the Masons, this seems like almost an impossible coincidence as well. Jesus equals 74, cross equals 74, Yeshua equals 74, Joshua, Muhammad, Messiah, pinnacle. The practice of decoding the alphabet where A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, up to Z is 26. Notice the alphabet is 26 letters like the God number. Look at this. Simple sums to 74, English sums to 74, gematria sums to 74. That is the practice of decoding using the alphabetic order. Simple English gematria. The phrase alphabetic order in Pythagorean gematria sums to 74. Highly Masonic. Out of the 50 states, Truth Seeker, only one has a gematria of 74. Only one. It is Oregon, the 33rd state. Think about that. Jesus was crucified at 33. The word Muslim equals 33. And it's not just Christianity and Islam. All the religions are full of these numbers. All of them. And look at us as a people. We're all divided. We don't know what to believe. We don't know what to think. Well, some of us do. We're so confident that what we've been taught is right. But Truth Seeker, I've just always looked at it from the outside, I've always looked at it from the perspective of, oh, that person is this, so you should stay away from them. Whenever somebody says something to me like that, I think, well, is that right? Should I ignore them because they believe this? I like to find out things for myself, Truth Seeker, and I don't like to deny people because of their beliefs. But so many people in this world are taught to think and behave that way. If I didn't say it already, when my mom was a child, she wasn't allowed to play with the Catholic children in her community. She was Lutheran. She was supposed to play with the Lutheran kids. When I grew up, she did a little bit of this to me because she didn't want me to play with some Mormon kids down the street. I ended up playing with those Mormon kids anyway. Life went on, This dividing and conquering, this, thinking we know God better than anyone else, it's the kind of stuff that has to stop. And that's why I do these videos, because I think in educating about all this coded information within the words and language we use, this knowledge that's been hidden from us, I think it reveals much truth if you think. Now you know why God is a 3-letter word that has these connections to these numbers. These numbers are not arbitrary. '61 recently, Truth Seeker. Do you remember the story of the gyrocopter crashing on the White House lawn? The pilot was said to be 61 years old. His name was Doug Hughes, which has a Pythagorean gematria of 61. The word gyrocopter has a gematria of 61. In all of these hoaxes, we often find these numbers coded. A major possibility why is because the hoaxes are tributes to God from the Masons, as sick and weird as that may sound. Perhaps they give these tributes to God because they see that they've been ruling in power and successful through this. So maybe they think God is granting them the power to continue on behaving and ruling as they have. I certainly don't think that's right, though. I think God has connected with me and helped reveal this knowledge to me because he sees that I have been good of heart my whole life and have been looking for truth and trying to help people find a better way. So I hope you learned something here, Truth Seeker. I hope you can answer all these questions successfully now. Why do some Jews write God, G-D? We learned about 7-4, how that translates to so many things, including the Son of God. As we're told, Jesus, who sums to 74. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.